Hey everyone, Dr. Charlie Johnson, physical therapist here. I want to create a quick video because I'm getting a lot of people reaching out to me who are stretching their hips, their butt, their sciatic nerve when they have some type of hip, butt, or leg pain, and they're just feeling worse. They're getting frustrated because they're getting nowhere, and that's the number one treatment that they're actually told to do to solve the problem. So get this, a lot of times stretching actually makes people worse, especially in these cases. And the logic, and it seems logical, is that, hey, my butt hurts, or my hip hurts, or whatever, and it feels, that's the key word, it feels tight, and oh, by the way, everybody's telling me to do that no matter where I look, and because it feels tight, then if I stretch it, I'll make it less tight, right? So tightness was the problem, and I get rid of that, and I make it less tight, then I'll, smiley face, feel better, right? But the problem is there's a huge assumption there. And the assumption is that it feels tight and therefore it needs stretching. Well, I'll be the first to say that oftentimes it's not the case and actually it's not tight. Hence why stretching it actually doesn't make any sense and often makes people more loose or overstretched and in more pain. So a simple 30-second self-test you can do at home if you've been trying to stretch your hips and or because you have pain and or you just enjoy stretching your hips and you think that that's going to help you in some way, just take this 30-second self-test and start to answer your own question about whether or not you actually need to be stretching. So here it goes. It's called the crisscross applesauce test, all right? Now, I don't have the best pants on for this, but you're going to sit in this position, all right? And what you're going to do is you're just going to take, let's just say, the side that isn't painful, and you're going to see how far from the ground is it, right? You're going to give a little push on it, all right? Just see how it's moving into this rotational motion. And then you're going to take the painful side and see how well it moves, all right? So get an idea for how high it is off of the table. And notice if I'm sitting like this, and both have equal spring, then one side is not tighter than the other. So why are you stretching it? And if the thought process is, it's tight, and that's the reason for my pain, well then if you have equal motion, all things are similar, then that just doesn't make any sense. Because if tightness were the problem and the cause of pain, then why does the pain-free side move just as well? Or maybe you might even notice that it actually is a little stiffer. If this was the pain-free side and this were the painful side, you might even notice, oh my gosh, the painful side, the hip that feels tight is actually more loose. It's more flexible than the side that isn't painful or stiff or achy or has pins and needles running down. So, now if we go back, right, so what does that say? Well, I mean, you could try stretching it out. I'm always one, and I love to test things out and say, go ahead and try to stretch it out. But a lot of people who will end up watching this have been trying to do that and haven't been getting the relief that they want. So just get that if motion is the same, if motion or lack of motion, tightness were the problem, and the cause of your pain, well then if you assess it, you should see that that side that's painful and stiff, at least logically, would be way more tight. But often what you'll find is it moves exactly the same, and then it doesn't make sense, or it moves excessively. It's actually more flexible than the pain-free side. So if we go back to that kind of logic and that thought process, if you feel tight, so if you're whatever hurts, and you feel tight, and you do this test, and now you're like, but I'm actually overstretched, I'm more flexible, well then stretching it and making it less tight, it was never tight to begin with, and therefore it's not going to help you. Alright, so in fact what's going to happen is it could make you worse. And it's because you're stretching something that doesn't need stretch, and therefore stretching doesn't work. Or it just makes it more and more flexible, which, if you think about it, just ticks off, pokes the angry bear. It takes something that's already painful, and you're just pushing it into end ranges. So, that's a 30-second self-test to tell if your hips are tight at home, if your hip tightness, or what you perceive to be hip tightness, is actually the cause of any type of pain or discomfort. Again, you can do at home and determine whether or not you actually need to be stretching. So a self-assessment. We need to start thinking, and we need to stop taking people's word for what they're telling us to do, and we need to start to break down these kind of theories or these comments that people put out in the world, because it's so easy to do that now. And we need to break it down and say, okay, how can we make that something we can test and then tell if it's the right thing for us. So that being said, hopefully that's helpful. I'm going to post another video here, maybe just in a few minutes, or I'll get back to work. and post another video on the absolute worst stretches for buttock, piriformis, glute, hip, hamstring, sciatic problems. So I'm going to share that here in a little bit. So 484-552-3767. If anybody wants any personal coaching there, we'd love to help you out and decide what the right treatment is for you. Thanks everyone. Dr. Charlie, I'm out.